In the blistering heat of December 1964, the waters around Hook Island in Australia shimmered with deceptive calm. Nestled in Stonehaven Bay, French photographer Robert Le Serec and his family had anchored the boat in search of peace and clear water. But instead, they stumbled upon something else, something vast, silent, and watching. Beneath the crystalline surface, a shape stretched across the sandy bottom, unnaturally long and dark. At first, it looked like a log, or maybe seaweed bunched together by current, but then it moved. Le Serec's voice would later carry the weight of someone who had stared into the unknown. He said, "It was only when we got to within 20 feet of the serpent that we could see its head clearly. The head was large, about 4 feet from top to bottom, with jaws about 4 feet wide. The lower jaw was flat like that of a sandfish. The skin was smooth but rather dull, brownish black in color. The eyes seemed pale green, almost white. The skin looked more like that of a shark than an eel. There were no parent scales, nor did we see any parasites around. We suppose the flexible tail would have shaken any off. There were no fins or spines, nor were there any apparent breathing openings, although there must have been some. Perhaps we didn't see them because our attention was focused mainly on the creature's menacing mouth, the inside of which was whitish. The teeth appeared to be small. A fragment of some dark substance hung from the upper row of teeth, possibly a fish. As the monster was lying on the sandy bottom, we could not see the color of its belly. The creature was about 90 feet long. Behind the head, the body was about 2 feet 4 inches thick and remained that way for about 25 feet. Then it gradually tapered into a whip-like tail. The general color of the body was black, with 1 foot-wide brownish rings every 5 feet, the first starting just behind the head. The skin was smooth but dull. Le Serec and the family watched in silence, frozen by disbelief and fear, as this massive creature, injured at the tail, lay still like a coiled thread. Then, in a sudden burst, it began to move toward their boat, mouth agape, the dark gap growing nearer. But just before it reached them, it veered away and vanished into deeper waters. Le Serec captured a few frames with his camera, grainy images that would later spark heated debates, suspicion, and fascination. Were they a glimpse of something unknown, or just a clever fabrication? Skeptics came fast. Some claimed it was a hoax, perhaps a huge sheet of plastic anchored to mimic the form of a beast. Others pointed out that digital manipulation did not exist in 1964, and the detail, particularly in the eyes, seemed too intricate for a mere model. Cryptozoologists like Lauren Coleman eventually dismissed the sighting, calling it a probable hoax. Still, the photos remain, and so does the unease. Because even in the absence of hard proof, something about Le Serec's testimony, his many details, his hesitation, the fear that crept in between his words, it continues to unsettle. The waters around Hook Island haven't given up another sighting since, but even now, swimmers hesitate before diving too deep. And maybe, somewhere just beyond visibility, something is still watching and waiting. So while we are wondering about the Hook Island monster lurking beneath the waves with its eerie stare, let's remember not everything from Australia is nightmare fuel. Some just want hugs, naps, and a mouthful of eucalyptus. High above Earth's comforting blue haze, there are whispers, shadows against the eternal black. In December of 1998, cameras aboard the space shuttle Endeavour captured a strange, angular object drifting in the void. Its contours were jagged and asymmetrical, with sharp edges and odd curves, nothing like the clean, cylindrical lines of known satellites. In certain shots, it seemed almost to shift shape as the light played across it, tumbling slowly in a way that looked neither entirely random nor entirely controlled. The so-called Black Night has become one of space's most enduring enigmas. To some, it is nothing more than space debris, misidentified, exaggerated, and wrapped in myth. NASA maintains that it was exactly that, a thermal blanket lost by astronauts during the STS-88 mission, photographed as it drifted away in low Earth orbit. Mission transcripts even record the moment the crew acknowledged losing it. The explanation is technically sound. Such blankets do reflect strangely in sunlight and can take on uncanny shapes in zero gravity. Yet to others, the object's peculiar geometry, its dark, almost sculptural profile, and the fact that it was spotted in a mission already steeped in conspiracy lore leave room for doubt. And so, alternative theories persist. A secret Cold War spy satellite, an alien probe silently observing Earth for millennia, even the very source of unexplained radio signals heard decades before the space age. More imaginative minds stretch the timeline back 13,000 years, placing it as an ancient sentinel in polar orbit far above our heads. The story stretches deeper than the shuttle era. In 1899, Nikola Tesla, alone in the Colorado night, surrounded by the crackle of his experimental coils, picked up faint, deliberate pulses on a wireless receiver of uncanny sensitivity. He later reflected, "I detected faint signals from Mars. They seemed to suggest a numerical code. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tesla never proved their origin. Was it a cosmic curiosity, atmospheric interference, or just maybe a message from something watching? Skeptics would later suggest pulsars, those rhythmic heartbeats of dead stars, are known in Tesla's day. Yet Tesla himself was never quick to dismiss the strange. "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena," he once wrote, "it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence." In the decades that followed, other odd signals emerged. Radio echoes arriving seconds later than they should. Inexplicable objects glimpsed in polar orbit long before Sputnik. To some, these were pieces of the same puzzle, an ancient observer silently circling our planet. Most scientists see only space junk and misinterpretation. Yet the Black Night endures in the imagination because the night sky invites both reason and myth. Somewhere between Tesla's curiosity and modern skepticism lies a truth, whether mundane or extraordinary, that we have yet to fully grasp. And perhaps, like the Black Night itself, it waits patiently in the dark for us to notice. In 1894, somewhere deep in the wilds of British Columbia, a camera captured something extraordinary. A body lying in the snow, massive and fur-covered, said to be a dead Sasquatch. The cracked old photograph shows snowshoes in the frame, a fence in the distance, and the creature's hairy hands resting in front. Its feet are cropped from view. It is claimed to be the oldest known photograph of Bigfoot. The photo carries its own voice in the form of faded handwriting scrawled on the back. It says, "Year 1894, Yallecombe River around Lillard BC Forestry, Hudson Bay Co." They took the picture, and the guy that was in the picture went and stole them back from the forestry records. Never took all pictures, only one, and took pictures of the rest. Those words hinted more images, perhaps a whole series, now lost to time, removed from official archives and hidden away. The note even names a man, Holiday, as either the thief or a figure in the original scene. It reads less like a label and more like a confession. The story behind it is stranger still. According to the account, trappers working for the Hudson Bay Company shot the creature near the Yallecombe River, close to Lillooet. Several photos were taken on glass plates, but most vanished, perhaps spirited away by holiday. Whether out of shame, secrecy, or something more deliberate, the image was never released to the public until over a century later. The Hudson's Bay Company was no small-time outfit. Founded in 1670, it was one of the most powerful commercial empires in history, controlling nearly 15% of the North American landmass, an area known as Rupert's Land. It acted as a government in all but name, with its own laws, forts, and armed expeditions. It mapped rivers, brokered treaties, and traded in furs from every corner of the wilderness. Its influence reached from the Arctic tundra to the Pacific coast, and its archives were vast. If anyone had the means to acquire, preserve, and conceal the body of a strange creature, it was surely the Hudson's Bay Company. The idea of cover-ups isn't unique to this 1894 case. In 1967, the famous Patterson-Gimlin film was shot in Bluff Creek, California. The short reel shows a tall, broad-shouldered figure covered in dark hair striding across a creek bed before turning its head toward the camera in that now iconic glance. The gait, muscle movement, and proportions have been analyzed for decades, by some as evidence of a living, unknown primate, and by others as an elaborate hoax. Even with modern image stabilization and frame-by-frame study, the debate rages on. Like the 1894 photograph, it seems to contain too much detail for its time, yet just enough ambiguity to keep the mystery alive. One wonders if these images really are authentic, and what other truths lie in locked cabinets and forgotten archives. If even one body, one full set of photographs, one scrap of undeniable DNA exists, it could rewrite not only cryptozoology, but our very understanding of human history. And yet, nothing definitive has emerged. Perhaps that is the true power of the Bigfoot mystery. It lives in the thin space between fact and legend, where our curiosity wrestles with our skepticism. We demand proof, but we are drawn to the possibility that some corners of the world still keep secrets. So the old photograph from 1894 remains a mystery in fading tones of black and white. Like the Patterson-Gimlin film, it refuses to settle the debate. Instead, it whispers an invitation to keep looking, to keep questioning, and to admit that even in our mapped and measured world, there may still be giants walking in the shadows.